Hello, I'm Claire Molinar, founder of Unique Self-Emergence with Barbara Alexander. This is a reshooting of yesterday's first day of our 5 days challenge, learning to dismantle your false core pattern. I am reshooting this part because a few of you have complained that the sound wasn't good. So I'm going to take you in this video through the process that I introduced yesterday. I am going to skip the introduction. Barbara has given you a good introduction on the false core pattern. I was just reviewing the main points in the beginning of my video yesterday. For the purpose of time, I'm only going to take you through the process now, which is the first step of our 5 days challenge into learning to dismantle your false core pattern. So I would like you to make sure that you're going to have about 20 minutes of quiet time, 15 to 20 minutes of quiet time, not being distracted. Make sure that you have a pen and a paper handy, and find yourself a comfortable position, a quiet space, and have the intention that this next 15 to 20 minutes are going to be for you to go and connect with deeper part of yourself. So just create that space internally and welcome yourself in that space. So I'm going to ask you to take a few deep breaths and to come fully present to your body. So inhale deeply into your belly, bringing the air into your chest, allowing the air to fill your belly, your chest, and releasing through your mouth, opening your mouth, letting go of any tension, any thoughts that don't need to be here with you right now. And again, allowing the air to fill your belly, going through your diaphragm, your chest, and letting go of any tension, anything that doesn't need to be with you right now. Making space to welcome yourself. I'm going to take you through a process right now. And for that, I'd like you to close your eyes and to take a moment to identify a time, a recent time when you were triggered. There was a situation in which you felt a strong emotional reaction, a negative one probably, more or less intense. And yeah, just locate that place, locate that situation. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it's sufficiently triggered. There's a trigger in it, an emotion, a strong emotional reaction. So you recall that situation and start feeling in your body what it felt like. What did you feel in your body? Was there any tension, any contraction, weight, anything that your body remembers of that situation? And write it down. So jot down a few lines or just a few words. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but just for you to remember the nature of the situation, the trigger, and the bodily sensations associated with it. If at any time I'm going too fast, you can always stop the video, finish what you're writing or doing, and continue on, resume when you're ready. So I assume that you have the situation and you have a sense of how your body felt in the situation. Feel now the emotional flavor of that situation, which usually goes with the body sensations, but try and separate the two. And what were you feeling in that moment? feelings such as anger, frustration, rage, fear, sadness, any emotional flavor that is attached to this situation. Try and locate it, try and access it inside of you in your memory. And write it down. Again, you can stop the video, take your time. And now I'd like you to ask yourself, what story were you telling yourself while having this experience? What are the judgments, the thoughts that go with this situation? Try and find in your memory the story that you were telling yourself in that moment. So now I'd like you to go back in time to the very earliest time you ever felt something very similar. So it doesn't have to be the same situation. It's not about the story, it's about the inner feeling, the texture, the flavor of the situation, the flavor of the emotions that are very similar. Something is resonating. And try and locate the time in your history as far as back as possible where you can remember that similar experience. It can be very, very early. It could be a vague memory of childhood. And if you can't capture it with thoughts, with words, you might want to just draw something or just jot down a few words that somehow this words or this shape that you might have drawn captures that memory, even vaguely. Don't try and be precise here. And again, feel free to stop the recording if you need more time. So regardless of the experience that you captured, you were probably very, very young when you had that experience for the first time. And what we know is that children or babies don't yet have the capacity to put themselves in someone else's shoes, to look at the world through a different perspective than their own. So when something happens to us when we're very young, that unsettles us, that triggers us, that threatens our sense of integrity, of balance, center, we draw conclusions that something's wrong with us. Somehow it's the default mode that we have of making sense of the situation. So in that experience, in that situation that you might have located, that brings you back to a former sensation, a similar emotional, mental, and bodily situation, there was something that you were telling yourself, a sentence, a belief that you held that gave you a sense of explanation of the situation. It gave you the possibility to make sense of what was happening. So you drew a conclusion, and generally this conclusion is captured in one sentence. And of course, as Barbara explained in her video, this sentence might not even, often is not verbal, it's pre-verbal. But somehow it became verbal over time as we kept having that belief. So I'm going to read to you now some very common false core beliefs that we hold. And as you listen, I would like you to pay strong attention to what resonates most powerfully to you. So I'm going to read those sentences and jot down the ones or the one that feels most true to you about you. And maybe none of them resonate, but you have another one in your mind that you already feel. So I'm going to read them now. I am worthless. I am powerless. I am alone. I'm not safe. I'll never make it. I'm a burden. I'm not lovable. I'm not enough. I'm not wanted. I don't deserve. I'm not interesting. I'm imperfect. I'm invisible. I'm weak. I'm in pain. I don't exist. I'm too much. I'm nothing. I don't deserve. I'm wrong. I'm not good. I'm powerless. I'm incompetent. I'm inadequate. If you need to listen to those sentences again, you can stop the recording, replay. And so as I read the sentences, you might have found that a few of them really rang true to you. They just felt familiar. And again, maybe there is another one in your mind that runs, that you can access when you remember that first experience I brought you back to just a few minutes ago. So these sentences are examples of false core beliefs that operate in your way of being by default. They're kind of that sentence, and usually there's one or two that are really strong and that are also fundamental to some others that we may have. So it's kind of going back to the root of the one first false core sentence. And so that belief is the filter through which you see the world by default. It's the filter through which your construct, your personality construct, has elaborated itself over time. And this is why it's so important for us to actually identify this belief. Because this belief over time, this flavor in your consciousness, has influenced your emotions, it has influenced your thoughts, and it has influenced the way your body has shaped itself into a structure. So this is why this work, this exploration, is at the core of everything we're going to do from now on in this 5 days challenge and beyond, in the whole unique self-emergence process. So consider how this false core belief has influenced your relationship with others, how it has influenced the way you see the world. And jot down a few thoughts about that and about how you see that these mental, emotional, and bodily pattern has developed around that belief. So in other words, this belief has created your thoughts, your emotions, and the way your body holds itself. This is what we call the false core pattern. So I would like you, between now and the next step of the challenge, I would like you to write down what you found out. What is your false core sentence? If you don't have one, but you have a sense of a few, that's enough for now. And how did that sentence or those sentences have influenced your way of being, including your thoughts, your emotions, and your bodily structure? That is it for today. Again, this is a reshooting of the first step of the 5 days challenge, which I started yesterday. And now, right after this video, I'm going to give you the first step of the practice, of the actual practice of dismantling your false core pattern. Thank you very much. See you on the other side.